It's regarded as one of the last pristine environments on Earth.
If anything went wrong, it would be bad.
I think of the glacier having its period.
In the deep, dark depths of Antarctica, dark secrets lay hidden waiting to be discovered. Secrets that could change everything we thought we knew about the continent and our planet as a whole. Antarctica is the most inhospitable continent on Earth. It's the coldest, windiest, and driest place on our planet, yet people have been exploring it for centuries. And over the years, they've made some truly terrifying discoveries. From Antarctica's volcanoes to its daring sea pigs, these shocking discoveries will shake the very foundations of our knowledge of this cold and windy continent. Join us as we embark on a mind-bending expedition and uncover 15 of the most mysterious and terrifying discoveries in the icy depths of Antarctica. Number 15. Sea pigs. The Antarctic expedition has yielded many strange and wonderful discoveries, but none so strange or wonderful as the sea pig. These creatures are the stuff of nightmares, with their bulbous bodies, long tentacles, and gaping mouths. They look like something out of a horror movie, and they're just as scary. Sea pigs are sea cucumbers, a type of marine invertebrate. They live in the deep sea, where they feed on detritus and other organic matter. Their appearance varies depending on the species, but they all have a few things in common. They're all covered in skin that is translucent or even transparent, so you can see their internal organs. They also all have long tentacles that they use to gather food. Sea pigs are not particularly aggressive, but they can be quite startling to see. They're often found in large groups, and they can move around in a surprisingly coordinated way. They've been seen marching across the seafloor in search of food, and they've even been known to climb over each other. The sea pig was caught in the path of a multi-corer, a device used to collect sediment samples from the seafloor. The multi-corer plunged into the mud, trapping the sea pig inside its tube. The sea pig was taken aboard the research vessel and stored in a refrigerator. Becky Totten-Minzoni, a paleoclimatologist at the University of Alabama, was studying the sediment samples when she made a startling discovery. Inside the multi-corer tube, she found the sea pig alive and well. It had survived the journey to the surface, and it was even able to feed and reproduce. Totten-Minzoni and her team are continuing to study the sea pig, and they hope to learn more about its amazing ability to survive. Number 14. Remains of a massive asteroid. Scientists have discovered a huge, mysterious anomaly lurking beneath Wilkes Land, a frozen wasteland in Antarctica. The anomaly is 151 miles across and has a minimum depth of 2,700 feet. It is believed to be the remainder of a massive asteroid, twice the size of the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. If this is true, the asteroid could have caused the Permian-Triassic extinction event, which killed over 96% of sea creatures and up to 70% of land-living vertebrate organisms. The discovery was first made in 2006 when NASA satellites caught what appeared to be a huge object in the middle of a 300-mile-wide crater. However, the assumption that the anomaly was an impact that killed the dinosaurs was ruled out by Ralph von Fries, a professor of geological sciences at Ohio State University. He discovered the killer crater and believes that the Wilkes Land impact is much bigger. Another theory suggests that the object might be a massive secret UFO base. According to Secure Team 10, a UFO hunting crew, the Nazis built secret bases in Antarctica during World War II to be used by flying saucers. This theory seems to be supported by recent discoveries of various entrances in the side of mountains with a saucer shape. So, what is this mysterious anomaly? Is it a massive asteroid, a UFO base, or something else entirely? The mystery remains unsolved to this day. Number 13. Hidden earthquakes beneath Antarctica. For centuries, scientists believed that the weight of Antarctica's massive ice sheets prevented seismic activity in the continent. However, recent research has revealed that Antarctica is home to dozens of hidden earthquakes. In 2009, Amanda Loch, an assistant professor at Drexel University, and her team of researchers set up an array of sensors around Antarctica. They were surprised to find that even in remote locations where seismic activity had never been detected before, there were dozens of small earthquakes occurring every year. The earthquakes are caused by the movement of tectonic plates beneath the ice sheet. The plates are slowly moving apart, and this movement causes stress to build up in the rock. When the stress becomes too great, it releases in the form of an earthquake. The earthquakes in Antarctica are relatively small, with magnitudes ranging from 2 to 4. However, they are still significant, as they can cause damage to infrastructure. The earthquakes, which ranged in magnitude from 2.1 to 3.9, were detected by a network of sensors that was set up in 2009. The discovery of these earthquakes is significant because it suggests that East Antarctica is not as stable as previously thought. They provide new insights into the geological history of the region, and they could help scientists to better understand the risks of earthquakes in other parts of the world. The discovery of the earthquakes also raises new questions about the nature of East Antarctica. The region is home to the East Antarctic Craton, a large, stable piece of rock that forms the core of the continent. The craton is about 100 million years old, and it has been thought to be relatively immune to seismic activity. However, the recent discovery of earthquakes suggests that the craton may be more active than previously thought. Number 12. Antarctica Volcanoes. Antarctica is a frozen wasteland, but beneath the ice lies a hidden world of heat. There are an astonishing 138 volcanoes in Antarctica, and some of them are still active. The tallest volcano in Antarctica is Mount Sidley, which is 14,000 feet tall. It is also one of the most active volcanoes on the continent, having erupted as recently as 1991. Another active volcano in Antarctica is Mount Erebus, which is the southernmost active volcano on Earth. It is also the second highest volcano in Antarctica after Mount Sidley. The volcanoes in Antarctica are a reminder that even the coldest places on Earth can be geologically active. They also pose a potential threat to the ice sheet, as an eruption could melt the ice and cause sea levels to rise. In addition to the volcanoes, there are also hot springs and geysers in Antarctica. These geothermal features are caused by the heat from the Earth's interior, which can reach the surface because of the thin crust in Antarctica. One of the most interesting things about Antarctica's volcanoes is that they are located in isolated areas. This means that they have not had as much of an impact on the surrounding landscape as volcanoes in other parts of the world. However, they could still have a significant impact if they were to erupt. Scientists are also interested in learning why some of Antarctica's volcanoes are dormant. Is it because the continent is so cold? Or is it because the freezing surface conditions have led to a slowdown of volcanic activity? The answers to these questions are still unknown, but they are important to understand if we want to predict the future of Antarctica. The continent is already experiencing the effects of climate change, and an eruption of one of its volcanoes could have a devastating impact. Number 11. Pyramids of Antarctica. Pyramid structures have been found across the world, built by several different civilizations throughout history. It is perplexing how many of them managed to build such large structures, and how people many thousands of miles apart came up with the same design principles. The most mysterious pyramids on Earth may well be hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica. In 2015, satellite images were taken of the Ellsworth Mountains, and some of the images show undeniably pyramid-shaped structures. Straight lines and points like this are virtually unheard of in nature. So could the snow-covered mounds be hiding evidence of an ancient human or alien civilization beneath? Experts are divided on the matter. Some insist that these are simply normal mountains that, because of a trick with the shadows being cast on them, look like pyramids from the top. However, if you were to go to them at ground level, they would appear very different. Others think this is proof that there is something more going on here. Interestingly, there is a growing body of evidence that suggests that a civilization once lived in Antarctica before the continent was covered in ice. Some believe that this civilization was forced to leave when the ice sheets began to expand, and that they taught others around the world how to build pyramids and other monuments. The evidence for this lost civilization includes satellite images that show straight lines and right angles in the ice, as well as geological features that suggest that there were once large cities in Antarctica. However, the remoteness of the continent and the harsh climate has made it impossible to conduct a full survey of the area to prove any of these claims. If the existence of a lost civilization in Antarctica is confirmed, it would be a major discovery. It would mean that humans were living on the continent much earlier than previously thought, and that they had a sophisticated understanding of architecture and engineering. It would also raise questions about the history of human migration and the development of civilization. The mystery of the lost civilization of Antarctica is likely to continue for many years to come. However, the evidence that is already available is tantalizing, and it suggests that there is much more to learn about this lost world. Number 10. Giant spider. Imagine a spider the size of a house cat. It has 8 long, hairy legs and a menacing proboscis. It lives in the coldest, darkest depths of the Southern Ocean. This is the Antarctic sea spider, one of the most fascinating and mysterious creatures on Earth. Scientists have long been puzzled by the fact that sea spiders, which are small and delicate creatures in warmer waters, can grow to be so large in the cold waters of Antarctica. A new study suggests that the answer may lie in the sea spider's metabolisms. Sea spiders have very slow metabolisms, which means they use less oxygen than other animals of their size. This is important because sea spiders get their oxygen from diffusion, a process that requires a lot of oxygen in the water. In warmer waters, there is less oxygen available for diffusion, so sea spiders cannot grow as large. To test this hypothesis, scientists drilled deep into the Antarctic sea ice, and scuba divers swam down to the sea floor. They collected sea spiders from the water, which had temperatures ranging from -1.5 to -1.8 degrees Celsius. The sea spiders were then tested in a variety of temperatures and dissolved oxygen content conditions. The researchers found that the larger sea spiders were negatively affected by low oxygen levels. This suggests that the slow metabolisms of Antarctic sea spiders are essential for their ability to grow so large. The researchers believe that the slow metabolisms of Antarctic sea spiders may have evolved as a way to conserve energy in cold water. By having a slow metabolism, sea spiders can survive in waters with low oxygen levels. This allows them to occupy a niche that would otherwise be unavailable to other animals. Number 9. Underground lakes. It was once thought that there were only a few subglacial lakes in Antarctica. However, recent technological advances have allowed scientists to discover that there are hundreds of these lakes hidden beneath the continent's ice sheet. These lakes are possible because of the immense pressures put on them by the Earth and ice layers above them. This pressure, along with the high levels of salt that have been deposited in the lakes over millennia, means that the water does not freeze even though it is far below the temperature where you would expect it to. This leads to some bizarre things taking place in these lakes. For example, Lake Willans is home to a type of bacteria that can survive in temperatures as low as -56 degrees Celsius. This bacteria is thought to be the most cold-tolerant organism on Earth. Lake Willans is also home to a variety of other strange creatures, including fish that have no eyes and worms that can grow up to 10 meters long. These creatures have adapted to the harsh conditions of the lake by developing unique features that allow them to survive in the extreme cold. It was discovered in 2007 by a team of scientists who used a hot water drill to access the lake. On a cold January day in 2013, a team of scientists drilled through 26,000 feet of ice to reach the surface of Lake Willans, a subglacial lake hidden beneath the ice sheet of Antarctica. The scientists were eager to see what life might be found in this mysterious environment. Their efforts were rewarded. The water samples and sediment cores they collected revealed the presence of more than 39,000 kinds of microbial life. These bacteria were surviving in the harsh conditions of the lake without photosynthesis, a process that requires sunlight. Instead, the ecosystem was based on the oxidation of ammonia and methane from sediments laid down at least 120,000 years ago. These microbes have adapted to the harsh conditions of the lake by feeding on ammonia and methane that have been released from sediment that was deposited in the lake about 120 years ago. Further drilling beneath the lake revealed that there are also colonies of fish, crustaceans, and jellyfish living in the dark and incredibly cold environment. Number 8. Abandoned hut. If you're a history buff, you may have heard of Ernest Shackleton and his Nimrod expedition. This journey was set around the South Pole between 1907 and 1909. Amidst the Arctic tundra and bone-chilling temperatures, Ernest and his crew found refuge within the wooden hut he created. The hut, which had a cot, shelving, a stove, and dreary drapery, held the men as best it could before they, unfortunately, visited for the last time in 1908. In the hut that they left, there were enough supplies to be used during an emergency for the 15 men on his expedition. Even though the hut was entirely too small for that many men, the compact size and body heat of the men helped quite a bit. Despite the temperature still being well below freezing, the men were able to survive for months in the hut. In the year 2000, a team of researchers visited the hut and found that it was still in remarkably good condition. They also found a 100-year-old fruitcake that had been left behind by Shackleton's crew. The fruitcake was still edible, and the researchers were able to taste a piece of it. The fruitcake was made by Huntley and Palmer's, a British biscuit company that was Scott's favorite. The company's logo was stamped on the parchment paper, which helped researchers to identify the fruitcake. The hut was abandoned in 1,913 years, after Scott and his team perished on their return journey from the South Pole. The fruitcake was left behind, and it has been perfectly preserved by the cold. Number 7. Rectangular Iceberg. In 2018, NASA captured an incredible image of a rectangular iceberg floating off the Larsen C ice shelf in Antarctica. The iceberg was roughly the size of Manhattan, and it was so perfectly rectangular that it looked like it had been cut out of a giant sheet of ice. NASA's Icebridge aircraft was on a mission to image Earth's polar regions when it spotted the iceberg. The aircraft's cameras were able to capture the iceberg in stunning detail, revealing its smooth, flat surface and sheer vertical sides. The iceberg is a type of tabular iceberg, which is formed when large chunks of ice break off from glaciers or ice shelves. Tabular icebergs are typically much larger than other types of icebergs, and they can have a variety of shapes, including rectangular, triangular, and trapezoidal. The rectangular iceberg is a rare find, and it is not yet clear how it formed. Some scientists believe that it may have been caused by a combination of factors, including the shape of the ice shelf, the direction of the wind, and the currents in the ocean. This iceberg is estimated to be about 130 feet tall and contains enough tons of ice that it could fill every swimming pool in California over and over again if it melted. The Larsen C is a very large ice shelf with enough time to spread out and become perfectly flat. The moment an iceberg breaks off a shelf, it takes a large, flat, rectangular shape. As the iceberg carves, it may be smooth and flat underneath, however. This could change with ocean currents. This could have a significant impact on the region. Icebergs can block shipping lanes, damage infrastructure, and even cause flooding. They can also pose a danger to marine life as they can break up and create underwater hazards. Number 6. Singing ice. The ice covering Antarctica is not as silent as you might think. It sings. The sound it makes is not audible to human ears, but it can be detected with seismic sensors. The discovery of the singing ice came by accident. Researchers were monitoring other aspects of ice behavior after installing 34 seismic sensors on the Ross Ice Shelf between 2014 and 2017 years. After reviewing the readings, they discovered that the topmost snow layer was constantly vibrating, especially when the wind whipped over the ice's uneven surface. This produced a hum at a frequency of about 5 hertz. Julian Sharman, lead study author and a geophysicist and mathematician at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, describes the sound as similar to blowing a flute. Douglas Mikhail, a glaciologist at the University of Chicago, offered a more poetic description of the humming sound. He said the sound reminds me of the sound of a Tibetan singing bowl or the wind blowing through a canyon. The singing ice is a warning sign of the changes that are taking place in Antarctica. As the climate warms, the ice shelf is becoming more unstable. The singing ice is a way for the ice to release stress, and it is a sign that the shelf is under strain. The scientists who discovered the singing ice believe that it could be used as a monitoring tool. By tracking the pitch of the hum, they can get a better understanding of how the ice shelf is responding to climate change. This information could help them to predict when the shelf may collapse, and it could help them to develop strategies to protect the ice shelf from further damage. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. In the frozen heart of Antarctica, A lone astronaut embarks on a celestial ballet amid the ice and snow. Swathed in a majestic spacesuit that gleams like stardust, they become a cosmic wanderer, a symphony of human and extraterrestrial elegance. With each step, their breath weaves a dance of mist in the crisp air, leaving an ethereal trail behind. The glacial landscape becomes their grand stage, an otherworldly theater where the boundaries of Earth and space converge. As they traverse this immaculate canvas, the snow and ice, like an interstellar dance floor, echo the rhythm of the cosmos. As he glides across the icy terrain, they seem to embrace the very essence of the universe, intertwining their earthly spirit with the celestial secrets. The mountains in the distance stand tall like cosmic gatekeepers, inviting the astronaut to unveil the mysteries beyond. But what mysteries does he uncover, and what secrets does this vast expanse hold? Number 5. The Factorian Deep. The Factorian Deep is a newly discovered underwater trench in the Southern Ocean. It is the deepest point in the region, reaching a depth of 24,000 feet. That's the equivalent of 17 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of each other. The Factorian Deep was discovered in 2019 by Victor Vescovo, an American explorer and entrepreneur. He was on an expedition to map the deepest points of the 5 oceans in the world. Vescovo piloted a submersible named Limiting Factor to the bottom of the trench, which is located in the South Sandwich Islands. The Factorian Deep is named after the submersible that discovered it. The name Limiting Factor refers to the physical limits of human exploration. The submersible is capable of diving to depths of up to 35,000 feet, but the Factorian Deep is so deep that the submersible could not reach the very bottom. The Factorian Deep has been included in a new map of the undersea mountains, canyons, and plateaus of the Southern Ocean. The map, called the International Bathymetric Chart of the Southern Ocean, is a collaborative effort between scientists from around the world. It is the most detailed map of the Southern Ocean ever produced. The Nippon Foundation's Seabed Project is on a mission to map the entire global seafloor by 2030. The project is a collaborative effort between scientists from around the world, and it is the most ambitious ocean mapping project ever undertaken. The project is using a variety of methods to map the seafloor, including sonar, satellite imagery, and underwater robots. So far, the project has mapped over 18.5 million square miles of seafloor, and it is on track to complete the mapping by 2030. Number 4. Blood Falls. The Blood Falls of Antarctica is a truly mysterious sight. A waterfall of dark red water flows from a cliff of ice, giving the appearance of a river of blood. But what is the source of this blood-red water? The mystery of Blood Falls was first discovered in 1911 by a team of scientists who were exploring McMurdo Dry Valley. They were puzzled by the dark red color of the water, and they initially thought that it might be caused by red algae. However, further investigation revealed that the water was brine, a salty water that is rich in iron. The iron in the brine comes from ancient rocks that are buried deep below the surface of Antarctica. These rocks are rich in iron, and they have been slowly dissolving over time. The dissolved iron has seeped into the groundwater, and it has eventually made its way to the surface, where it forms the blood falls. The brine remains liquid and flows even though the temperature at the base of the glacier is below freezing. This is because the brine has a lower freezing point than pure water. As the brine freezes, it releases heat, which melts the ice and enables the rivers to flow. The high pressure at the base of the glacier also contributes to reducing the temperature at which water freezes. This means that the brine can flow even in very cold conditions. A trickle of rust-colored water flows from a crack in the ice, creating a haunting sight in the otherwise pristine landscape of Antarctica. This is Blood Falls, a natural wonder that is caused by the presence of iron-rich hypersaline water. The saltwater source for Blood Falls is a subglacial pool of unknown size, which is located several kilometers from the falls. The pool is overlain by about 400 meters of ice, and the water within it is so salty that it cannot freeze. As the water from the pool seeps through the ice, it comes into contact with oxygen and oxidizes, turning a rusty red color. This process is similar to what happens when iron rusts, but the water in Blood Falls is so salty that the oxidation process is much slower. Number 3. Strange hole. The ice sheets of Antarctica are constantly moving and shifting, a natural result of the way that ice forms, flows, and melts. But sometimes, something happens that's a complete surprise. In mid-September 2017, a huge hole opened up in the ice. It began at 3,700,000 square millimeters in size, but it quickly grew to cover an area of 30,000 square miles, almost the same size as the state of Kansas. This phenomenon is called a polynya, and it's an entire region of unfrozen ocean that's surrounded by ice. The Moresby polynya, as it's known, actually first appeared in 1974, but it's subsequently sealed up again over the following decades. Scientists are still not sure why the Moresby polynya reopened in 2017. Some believe that it may have been caused by a combination of factors, including warmer ocean temperatures, strong winds, and changes in the ice shelf structure. One theory is that the polynya is caused by cyclones. Cyclones are powerful storms that form over the ocean, and they can exert huge forces on the ice. It's possible that the cyclones can cause the ice sheets to be pulled in opposite directions, which ultimately leads to an opening. Another theory is that the polynya is caused by changes in the climate. The Earth's climate is warming, and this is causing the sea ice to melt. As the sea ice melts, it exposes the ocean water, which can then warm up. This warming can cause the ice sheets to become weaker, making them more susceptible to being pulled apart by cyclones. Number 2. Elongated human skull. Antarctica is not exactly the first place in the world you dream of living. It's cold, it's dark, and it's remote. But even though it's the most inhospitable continent on Earth, there have been people living there for centuries. The earliest people to regularly visit Antarctica were seal hunters. They came for the fur and oil, and they often stayed for months at a time. They lived in small, isolated settlements, and they relied on the resources that were available to them. In 1985, researchers found the oldest human remains ever discovered in Antarctica. The skull belonged to a Chilean woman who was in her early 20 years when she died around 1820. This discovery was significant because it showed that people had been living in Antarctica for much longer than previously thought. But the discovery of the Chilean woman's skull wasn't the only mysterious find in Antarctica. In 2014, 3 strange skulls were dug up in a region called La Perouse. Researchers in the Shetland Islands were beginning to rework their theories of when humans first reached the continent. But there was something that didn't quite add up. The skulls they were finding were no ordinary skulls. They were elongated, and they had features that didn't match any known human or animal species. Some scientists believe that these elongated skulls were evidence of humans who had developed in a very different way from the rest of us. Others believe that they were the remains of aliens. Whatever the truth may be, the discovery of these skulls has only added to the mystery of the Shetland Islands. The elongated skulls have been found in other places as well, including Chile and Egypt. These discoveries have led some people to believe that there was once an ancient race of humans who were very different from us. Perhaps future research will one day determine the answer once and for all. Number 1. Monster bird. Imagine a bird with a wingspan of 21 feet or roughly the length of a U-Haul truck. This is not the stuff of myth or legend, but the reality of a long-extinct bird that once soared the skies of Antarctica. The fossils of this giant bird were discovered in Antarctica in the 1980s. The bird is known as a pelagornithid, and it was a member of a group of extinct seabirds that had long, narrow beaks and large wingspans. Pelagornithids were once found all over the world, but they disappeared about 2,500,000 years ago. The newly discovered fossils of the giant pelagornithid are the oldest ever found. They date back to about 50 million years ago, just a few million years after the dinosaurs went extinct. This suggests that the giant pelagornithids emerged soon after the dinosaurs died out, and they may have filled a niche that was left empty by the dinosaurs. The giant pelagornithids were truly massive birds. Their wingspans could reach up to 21 feet, which is about twice the wingspan of the largest living bird, the wandering albatross. These birds were also very heavy, weighing up to 400 pounds. It is not clear what caused the giant pelagornithids to go extinct. Some scientists believe that they may have been unable to compete with the smaller, more agile birds that evolved after the dinosaurs went extinct. Others believe that the giant pelagornithids may have been wiped out by a change in climate or by a volcanic eruption. Which of these shocking discoveries did you find the most intriguing? Let us know your answers in the comments below.